Good evening and welcome to the Invictus Racing League's PlayStation Realistic Performance League Chinese Grand Prix, brought to you in partnership with GridFinder.com and sponsored by Nailcoat Hall. I am Tim, back once again, but I've got a new voice in the comms box with me today, Joe Hamster. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing fine, and a big thank you to you for jumping on board and replacing for a temporary basis Malk, because unfortunately he has had an operation that he's needing some time to recover. So Malk, if you're watching, we wish you well. We hope you recover soon. Just take care of yourself and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, big, big thanks for letting me join. It'd be nice to see everyone racing around the track. I don't get to see it firsthand very often, so it'd be good to watch.
Well, I'd say it is going to be a different view for you, but I can speak from experience when I say that I think we got the best seat in the house most of the time. The only time we don't is when the camera angles tend to go a little wonky on me.
I have seen that the race starts to do a little bit sketchy sometimes. Don't
It,
quite get the best.
it's unfortunate. I think Brazil, I actually commentated on a race in Brazil yesterday on F1 2021, and it really just seems like Brazil is one of those problem tracks where the camera always changes away from the action. So then I have to go on board with the driver so that we can still catch it. So it's those little things that we have to work around. But, you know, the show must go on. And in Invictus Racing League, you get fantastic racing each and every week. And that is no stranger to the Performance League as well. So I'm very excited to see how it goes.
I have seen some of the quality in this league, and it is outstanding. So I'm looking forward to seeing it myself too.
Maybe one day you will decide to jump in a car and race with them.
I don't know. The appeal to realistic performance just seems a strange one to me. Learning in my car I drive in equal, and then having to learn again in the realistic car. I don't know. Maybe.
It's certainly a different element that you have to worry about, but it's also a little bit different from the other leagues because every driver that finishes scores points in this division. So as long as you are able to finish, you will walk away with at least a few points under your belt. So that's always good to see. That kind of gives the drivers a little bit more incentive to try to finish the race, but my goodness, we at least are going to have a rainy qualifying session. Not sure about the race, but it's looking wet for qualifying.
Wow, it looks horrible out there on track. God, I'm glad it wasn't like this on Tuesday.
Well, it's looking like all the drivers have the intermediate tires selected, so maybe it's not as bad as it looks. Of course, we got to wait and see when they go out there how those tires react to the track conditions. Just waiting to see which driver is going to be the first to blink, and hopefully one of them can chime into the chat and give us an update on our weather.
This is true. It looks wet in the pits, but who knows what it's like out on track.
I'm just hoping that we have a dry race when it comes down to it, because a wet qualifying is one thing, but if we have to deal with a full wet race around China, then, you know, as you know, those DRS zones are going to be completely useless, and I really don't want the DRS zones to be useless.
We'll see, we'll see. I think a wet race can shake up the field a little bit, though, make it a bit more interesting.
Maybe
We'll
so.
have to wait and see.
We got 15 drivers with us today, and it is still a championship fight between the teammates of Smoke and Rustman. Of course, the way that we do teams in this league, Joe, if you're not familiar, is since each driver is in a different car sometimes each week, they have their own teams that they have named. So Smoke and Rustman, they go by the team name No Michael No.
I have seen that team name. It does make me laugh every time I read it.
It is fantastic. And Rustman, he has been dubbed by Malk and I as Mr. Consistency because up until last week where he had to serve a race ban, he had about 25 or 26 consecutive race starts and the same amount of race finishes. So he got points every single race that he has started. And he's raced in every single race up until the beginning of last season, I believe, with the exception of last week.
That is a really impressive feat as we see Simon go around already. Just on the outlap, they look like they're struggling.
Well, the rain will definitely do that to you. Currently, we are watching Sir Spud in the Red Bull here. So, Sir Spud trying to get a good lap. He is a driver, and I don't know how much you follow the Performance League, Joe, but he is actually tied for the winningest driver in this series. It is a four-way tie between him, Delaney, Yas, and Scope Builder. And he actually got a win earlier this season, which, solidified his status of the tie. So, if he were to win today, then he would become the winningest driver in this division.
I have seen you mention that stat a few times. I definitely have. I've watched back a few of the races, and I have noticed that, yeah.
So Sir Spud going down the very long straightaway. Assuming we get a dry race today, then this is going to be where you see the majority of your overtakes. Of course, the DRS zone doesn't start until about halfway down that straightaway, and then from then on, you are just trying to chase the car down in front of you, and then it's going to be a very, very, very hard braking zone. It is a hairpin, if I've ever seen one, there through the penultimate corner. But that's the majority of your overtakes are going to be happening there. And, of course, you've got a DRS zone down the front straightaway as well, and you can have a look-see on a driver going into turn number 1. But you got to be very careful because turns 1, 2, 3, 4, that area there, they switch back. So it goes from the inside line to the outside line, and it's very easy to make contact with the driver. So you've got to be on your toes and on your A game through that first sector especially.
That first sector is evil to drive, man. It is evil.
I personally do not like turn 2 whatsoever. Turn 2, turn 3 are the worst ones. Turn 1 is not that bad, but, because it just transitions into the 2 next worst corners that I've ever seen, except for maybe the castle section in Baku, then I understand it is definitely evil.
See, I love the castle section in Baku. I really enjoy putting my foot through there. It's really enjoyable. Scary, but enjoyable.
So Sir Spud on a flying lap. I believe he was the first driver to go out for a flying lap. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I could be wrong. Still have not gotten an update on the weather, unfortunately, but I can definitely tell you that it is raining very hard here in the qualifying session. As you can see, looks like we got some drivers actually chiming in.
Yeah, it does look like it's going to be a wet race tonight, I'm afraid. Much to your dismay, I'm sure.
It is a wet race. Yeah.
We'll see how it pans out.
So Smoke and Kelvin, thank you both for chiming in. Also, Reen says, I have seen a no-stop right on this track in the wet. You can win the race if you manage your tires and race pace. Just kill your temptation for aggressive moves. Okay, well, Reens is someone that you really need to listen to. He is... I think they've joined every single broadcast this season. So first off, our biggest fan of the Realistic Performance League. Big thank you to Reens. But he's pretty smart and he knows what he's talking about. So if he's seen a no-stopper, then I think I might try a no-stopper if I was racing.
I think a no-stopper could be dangerous on the tires, though. It's the risk for reward, though, I guess.
I guess we shouldn't be surprised, though, that China is going to be a wet race. It seems as though the wet races usually tend to happen in China. But we'll take a look at Keza now. He's starting his flying lap, or actually about to finish his flying lap, rather, excuse me. So no time yet on the board for Keza. We'll see what he's able to do. Looks like a driver has just set a time. Was that O'Steven going to 9th, maybe? No, actually, it was the Alpine driver of Maddie going to 4th, a 146.310. And Keza goes to pole, a 145.095.
Wow, that was a quick time. He's not messing around today, is he? I don't know what a good time around here in the wet is, but he's 5 temps up on everyone else. It must be good.
Joe, I'm glad you said that because I was actually about to ask you, how do you feel about driving China in the wet, and what do you think is a good lap time?
I have no clue what a good lap time is, but driving China in the wet, well, it's slippery enough in the dry, so I wouldn't want to be out there today.
Taking a look at our points leader up Smoke in the Aston Martin. So he's about to set his first time lap. Only 2 drivers who have yet to set a time, Smoke and Turok, respectively. Every other driver in this 15-car field has at least got their banker lap in. Of course, JP down there with a 154. That's a major banker lap. He's going to have to look for a little bit of improvement there. But Smoke going around the penultimate corner. Looking good so far. No invalidation, and does not look like there's going to be much of a risk of invalidation. As long as he takes it very easy through this final corner, everything is okay. So Smoke going to cross the line only to P12, a 146.579.
Wow, it's really close in this up here though. They're all within a few tenths of each other as JP goes around again on his outlap. He's really struggling to set a flyer here. He span at the end of the straight and he spin at the beginning of the straight as well.
Yeah, JP definitely needing a little bit more downforce in that car if he can find any at all. There goes the Mercedes around him. Was that Sab? Yes, it was actually. So we only have one Mercedes driver in the field today, I'm noticing. But we got 2 Alpine drivers, 2 McLaren drivers. So Sab, he's a bit lucky with that because he does not have to share a pit box with anybody.
That's very true. I don't know what's happened to the other Mercedes driver. I'm sure they couldn't make it for some reason. But the show must go on as Nitro spins it as well. Looks like they're struggling out there, I'm afraid, Tim.
Yeah, and I'd say that at this point, the drivers, they're just trying to, scratch and claw at the bit to get anything they can. Speed Queen 80, though, a 144.850.
The F1 drivers are really showing their experience here, aren't they? First, third, and fourth for the F1 drivers, and the 2 behind them are only in F2 as well. It's showing how much they've raced before.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's very unique about the Performance League for those of you who may be new and are not aware of how we do it over here is that all of these drivers race in other divisions in Invictus, or at least they are able to. So as Joe has just said, Speed Queen 80, Maddie, Russman, they are F1 drivers. Simon Palmer is an F2 driver. So we have pretty much all drivers of different nationalities and different speed, just different speed in general, racing here in the Invictus Racing League Realistic Performance League. So the way that we allocate the cars is the slower drivers get the faster cars, the faster drivers get the slower cars, and those allocations are changed every week as the league admins see fit. That way we keep the competition as close and as fair as possible.
Yeah, the allocations look like a tough job, don't they? There must be people not happy or very happy about what happens with those allocations. I wouldn't want to be there.
I personally do not envy the ones that have to make those allocations because it's one of those situations to where you know that you probably can't please everyone all the time, so someone's going to walk away mad at the end of the day, but unfortunately there's nothing you can do.
No, you just got to do your talking on track. There's no point in getting wound up on what car you're in.
Well, there is. Sometimes if you get a little bit mad, you might just drive faster.
Or more aggressive, we'll see.
Yeah. However, I think it helps to activate the Euro beat. Just turn on some Euro beat and then you'll get some speed out of the car.
We'll have to see if anyone's thought of that. I am hearing it could be going to a dry race though throughout the session. Starting off wet, turning dry. Could make for an interesting race, that one.
Yeah, and actually Gel saying that he has got a dry setup, and Gel says that it looks like it's going to be dry up fairly quickly before the race. I'm stumbling over my words today. I hope I'm still speaking English at this point. But yeah, so going from a wet race to a dry race, you have more experience racing, Joe, than I do. So tell the viewers, how that really changes your strategy and your thought process.
Well, depending on whether the race starts dry or starts wet, it makes a big difference. Obviously, knowing what tyres you're going to start on and when you're going to pit is vital to know. So if you start in the dry, you just usually go with your normal strategy, or maybe you might even extend your first stint start on those brand new softs or mediums. But often it's a medium to a soft if it goes to a dry start. That's the way I'd go anyway.
Now, I don't know if you remember a race last season that Malcolm and I commentated on. It was at the Red Bull Ring, I do believe, in Austria, where it was a wet race. It was raining when it started. It was raining when it finished. It rained through pretty much the entire race. However, it never made the track surface wet enough for the drivers to justify switching to the intermediate tires. So the entire race was run on slicks in the wet.
I'll tell you a fun fact about that race. I was racing in it.
Oh, were you? Okay, so it was that F3 then instead of Performance League, and I'm just mixing up my dates.
I'm pretty sure it was the F2 League, because that's why I raced in last season. I do remember a race around Austria was wet. It started in the wets, and the comms box was very confused as to why we were all out on the dries. Whether it was the league the race you commentated in or not, maybe, I don't know. But we had a very similar condition.
It certainly sounds like it, but honestly, You know, between Malcolm and myself, we have commentated on F3 races, F2 races, Performance League races, and maybe even the odd F1 race here and there. So we've kind of been around the block. Sometimes it's hard to remember every race that we've been to, but nonetheless, that does sound exactly what our reaction was. We were very confused, didn't understand how it was working, and we didn't understand why people weren't diving into the pits for intermediates on lap 1 until someone finally tried it. Then we realized, oh my goodness, the intermediates just aren't fast right now.
The game's the game, we've just got to go with what it says. If it tells you to go out on the dries, you wouldn't dare make that mistake of going out on the wets and losing all that time.
I guess so. Tarak going to 9th, though, a 145.932. Just over 5 minutes remaining in the qualifying session. Speed Queen 80 still holds the top spot. Keza in 2nd, Maddie in 3rd. Sir Spud in 4th, and then Simon Palmer in 5th with Rutsman, Sunboy, Sab, Tarak, and Ginger Tiger, your top 10. Then Gel, Nitro Gas, Smoke, O'Steven, and JP rounding out the rest of the field. But JP goes to 8th now, so move him up on the board. That means O'Steven back there in 15th.
Sab is really pushing these tyres through qualifying. I know they're only wet, so as I say that, he goes 6th. That's a brilliant lap. I was thinking maybe he'd stay that a little bit too long, worn those tyres a little bit too much. It's not as bad in the inters, but it still plays a part.
Well, if they are banking on the race drying up halfway through, or maybe even sooner than that, then you can actually afford to put a little bit more laps on these tires to try to get a nice lap. And correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but if you are able to get a couple of laps on the tire, sort of run them in, then would that potentially help you in the race?
I don't know. I don't think it make much difference. You don't have to. I don't think you have. Do you have to start on the inters that you qualify on? I don't really know.
I always assumed that you did, but actually that would be something that would be great to get some confirmation from one of our drivers if they're able to tune in. Unfortunately for Simon Palmer, though, he has invalidated his lap, so let's look at his car allocated teammate today of Keza, who's on a flying lap, and looks like he's actually a bit slower than he was before, so this is not going to be the lap that Keza was looking for. Let's take a look at another driver on the lap if we can find one. Most of them, though, really seem to be just out there making laps and not actually pushing. But Speed Queen 80, let's see if she's going to try to beat her best time. She's in the first sector, and she is 200ths up on her best time. So Speed Queen 80 looking good so far, perhaps increasing that gap that she's got on that pole position right now. Speed Queen 80, of course, not yet won a race this season. Got very close in Abu Dhabi. It was a last lap battle between her and Smoke. Smoke ultimately won out, but Speed Queen 80, she has been chasing that win for quite a while. Could today be the day that she finally gets the monkey off her back and picks up the first win of the season?
She is an incredibly talented driver. I have been following. I have seen she's not won a race, but she's always up there near. It is good racing. I see Tarak's gone 3rd, and he's going for a 2nd flyer. He set the fastest first sector. Let's see how he goes.
Speed Queen 80, meanwhile, in the 3rd and final sector, going down the DRS straightaway, but with it raining, unfortunately for her...
Whoa! Tarak has just put it in the wall. Sorry to interrupt you. Oh dear. Guess it wasn't to be that lap. Commentator's curse, maybe? Who knows?
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
I don't know what you're on about. Malk, if you're watching, we'll have words later.
Don't worry, we love you, Malk. We're just having fun with you. Speed Queen 80 going out of the final corner, crossing the line. Does she improve her lap time? I don't think she did. No, she does not. A 144.850 for the Alpine driver. And Tarak, you know, he's very lucky that he did not knock the wheel off that car, although it really doesn't matter at this point. He doesn't have enough time to go back out there and set a lap. So Tarak will do no better than 3rd. Keza, maybe he's got a chance to be on the lap. It looks like he's actually spun it around. Or actually, no, my apologies. He has not spun it around. He was going around the hairpin, but the camera angle made me kind of lose my perspective for a minute. So going down the straightaway, Keza, likely his final flying lap, unless he wants to go for one more, a 144.591. He's got one more chance if he wants to make this a flying lap, but with a lap like that, I'd say that he's at least got a safe top 3 starting position.
I think he is safe, but Speed Queen's up on her time. It's not over until the timer hits 0.
So let's see what Speed Queen 80 is able to do in the 2nd sector now. When she gets to the end, let's see how quick she is. 3/10 up on her best time. So if she has a good final sector, then Speed Queen 80 should, theoretically, knock Keza off that top spot.
See, she looks like she's going strong with the purple sector. Keza is out again though, so it's not over yet. He's also up on his own time. We'll see.
Oh, meanwhile, Joe, Malk is watching, and he has commented, he said that he does remember the days of the commentator's curse.
I don't think anyone can forget that day around Silverstone. I will be holding him to that for the rest of my life.
So Speed Queen 80 down the straightaway, can cross that line. She goes to pole 144.452 for the Alpine driver. Does Keza have anything left? A 10th up on his best time in the second sector. One more sector to go. Keza might just be able to knock Speed Queen 80 off that top spot. Let's see if he's able to do it. Just 2 more corners for the McLaren driver, and the qualifying session is officially over. So the drivers that are on their laps, they're going to have to finish now.
This is going to be crazily close. I see Russman's lost it, so he won't be bearing his time, but 4th isn't that bad for now. We'll see, he's literally 1/1000th ahead of Sir Spud, as Keza does go faster. A brilliant lap from him.
144.323 for the McLaren driver, and I think that might be a pretty safe pole time for him, but we still got a few drivers setting lap times. Maddie goes to 3rd, a 144.887. Let's see about Russman. You said that he spun, so this will not be the lap he's looking for. Sir Spud 72 here in the 6th position, looking good so far. So hopefully he has been quicker in his first 2 sectors. He just needs one final sector, and maybe, just maybe, he can improve on that 145 that he's got on that board. Just a handful of more drivers left. You can see him on the map. There is a yellow flag, so it looks like someone has spun as well. That might have been one of the Alpine drivers, but I'm not particularly sure. But Sir Spud, let's see if he can get into the top 5, but I don't think he's going to be able to do so. No, he's going into the pits.
It was Speed Queen in the Alpine that caused the yellow flag. She's got no front wing. I didn't see what happened. It was the same place as Tarex, so I'm assuming something similar. As they went onto that little straight before the back straight, it's so easy to drop the car.
So Speed Queen 80 will do no better than the 2nd position. This could have maybe been the lap that she was going to try to go for the pole. And, you know, maybe that's what happened. She was pushing, and maybe she just made a mistake and hit the wall.
Yeah, it's easily done. It's easily done. Luckily, you don't have to pay for the damage in the game.
Well, do F1 drivers in real life have to pay for it? I would hope not.
No, that's very true, but I don't think anyone pays for it here, thankfully.
So I do believe that what you see is what you're going to get. Keza on the pole with Speed Queen 80 in 2nd and Simon Palmer in 3rd. So just waiting out that clock. Sometimes we have to wait it all out. Sometimes it'll end with like 20 seconds to go. So until then, we just get to hang out and have a good time. We'll go back and look at our comments. Of course, we know that Malk has been talking to us. He says, "How's it going, Reeds?" And he's also saying, oh, no, they're just having conversations. And Smoke says he hates this track. Well, Smoke, you were my race engineer when I raced, and I'm pretty sure that my race ended with me cursing, so I can kind of agree with you if I was racing with you. But your official starting lineup for the Invictus Racing League's PlayStation Performance League Chinese Grand Prix: Keza on the pole with Speed Queen 80 in 2nd, Simon Palmer in 3rd, Maddie in 4th, 5th is Sunboy Turok in 6th, Russman in 7th, Sir Spud in 8th, 9th is Smoke, 10th is Sab, 11th is Ginger Tiger, JP in 12th, 13th is O'Steven, 14th is Gel, and then Nitro Gash in the 15th position.
There's just a second between 3rd and 13th. They're all very close together. It'll be an interesting race to see if their paces are that similar. How will it pan out? If you guys stay tuned, you'll see soon.
And that makes me want to dry race even more, because with that close of action, yeah, you're going to get some DRS trains, but you're also just going to get some wonderful DRS moves. But, Joe, you've said that you followed the Performance League, so you know what time it is. It is time for ours and the chat's top 3 predictions. And in any order, I'm going to have to go with Speed Queen, Simon, and Turok.
It's a bold call, but I think I've got my money on Sunboy tonight, I think. Sunboy in the top 3, I think Speed Queen, as long as she keeps it composed. She did show a bit of a shakiness in the qualifying with that spin, but I'm sure she was over pushing. But for the 3rd position, I don't know. I'm going to go with Russman. I'm going to mix it up.
Well, Rustman definitely does need a good day. As we were talking about, Smoke is leading. They are teammates, but Smoke is leading the driver standings over Rustman in second place. Smoke has 181 points. Rustman has 169. So if Smoke DNFs, Rustman pretty much has to finish, I'd say, about top 3, top 5 to pass his teammate today. Of course, they're not looking for DNFs. We've talked to both of them multiple times, and they say that the main thing, their main goal, their focus is that constructors standings, and the drivers championship, if they're able to get it, is simply just a bonus.
Well, it is interesting, isn't it? It does look like it will be one of them on the top step, but come the end of the season, but we will see who it will be, whether it will be Russman or Smoke, who knows.
Well, the commentator in me has certainly tried to stir the pot a little bit and try to get a friendly rivalry going on between the two, but I know Smoke personally, and while I don't know Rustman as well, I have talked to him, and you know, they're both very talented drivers, but they're also very professional, and they're sportsmen. It's how it is. They don't want to cause any unnecessary tension between each other. They know that it is competition, but it can also be healthy competition. And I think that's what we're seeing within that team, and I think that that's why they are on top right now in the constructor standings, because they have focused on maximizing their points.
I think as teammates you've got to have that kind of composure or you won't be successful over the long term. It's all good one of your drivers being in the top, but if the other's near the bottom, it will never work out in the constructors.
Exactly, and you know, sometimes you do get that, though, to where one driver will be dominating in the championship and then another one is really struggling to get points, and you know, sometimes that's just how it goes, and those teams, they can do well, but it makes it a lot harder to win constructor standings. In order to really win that constructors championship, you have got to have both drivers on their A game each and every week. We've seen how close the competition is here, so that should come to no surprises to anybody.
That's exactly right. Consistency is key for a constructors championship, not just the drivers championship. It's all good finishing in the top 3 places, but if you DNF the next race, it almost invalidates that.
So it's going to be 28 laps of racing for the Chinese Grand Prix. This is the Invictus Racing League's Realistic Performance League Chinese Grand Prix, brought to you in partnership with GridFighter.com, sponsored by Nailcoat Hall. And the new voice that you're hearing in the comms box this week is Joe Hamster. He is filling in for Malk today, and if he wants to, possibly next week as well. Malk is recovering from an operation that he's had, but he is still watching the stream. We wish him the best, and Malk, this is not just a request. This is an order. You have to take care of yourself, buddy. We need you back with us when you're able.
That is very true. We'd love to see him back for the final race. That would be a great way.
So
Great way to wrap up the season.
Oh, and it's getting very, very close. That's why we are really barking up this championship tree with Smoke and Rustman. Counting today, we've got 3 races remaining. So it's really getting close. Rustman and Smoke, you know, of course, 181 points to 169 respectively, so the championship battle is definitely not over, but it's starting to close very quickly.
Well, going back to what we said earlier, it does look like you get a fresh pair of inters if you start on the inters. Doesn't matter what you qualify on.
Well, I'd say that those drivers will definitely welcome all the tread and grip that they can get on what is going to largely be a gripless track, at least for the first part of the race. Potentially going to be drying up halfway through, give or take. Of course, our weather crew gives us estimates. That's all that we have available to us. But you know that these drivers are going to be ready to put racing slicks on as soon as they are able.
They will indeed. We'll have to see who makes the right call, and when they make it, it can be an absolute bonus to your race if you come in just on time. If you beat everyone out into the pits a lap early and you pick it right, it can be wonderful for you.
And here we go. You hear those engines revving. You hear those itchy pedal feet. The drivers watching the lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights in the air. No red lights. We are green for the Invictus Racing League's PlayStation Performance League Chinese Grand Prix, and it is a messy start. 3 wide for the lead, already going into turn number 1. 2 Alpines and a McLaren. There's contact, and both Alpines spin. Keza leads. Simon Palmer gets collected as well. Tarak's in second. Sir Spud up to third now, trying to defend against Russman and the AlphaTauri. It's a side-by-side battle between the two Aston Martin, Smoke and Ginger Tiger, respectively. Smoke trying to follow his teammate of Russman just ahead. And both of those drivers now running nose to tail. Simon Palmer, Speed Queen 80, and Maddie, the 3 drivers that got caught up in that mess in turn 1. Oh, and now Smoke making some contact with his car-allocated teammate of Ginger Tiger. So Ginger Tiger losing a few spots there. Smoke really struggling out here already on lap 1. He's found himself in the 5th position, but that's not entirely of his doing. He said he hates this track. Well, I think it goes to show that already struggling early on, but nonetheless, props to him for at least getting into that top 5. We'll take a look at Tarak now, who is slowly closing in on Keza, but of course you got to remember there's not going to be any DRS anytime soon. So even though Tarak is about half a second behind, he is going to have to find raw pace to get by that McLaren driver.
That looked like a very sketchy start. I don't know who didn't get off the line very well, but they were 3 wide into turn 1 and 3 cars into a small track. With a very tight turn is always going to be a cause for concern. It looks like it was commentator's curse as Speed Queen got caught up in that incident.
So what I could tell was that Keza had a bit of wheel spin on the start. It looked like possibly shifting into 3rd or 4th gear, just me guessing. And there was a little bit of wheel spin. He wiggled, and that's what brought him 3 wide.
Oh, I see. I saw Speed Queen was just in the middle of a sandwich. She had nowhere to go. It looked like it was very unavoidable for her.
So JP and the Ferrari running an 8th at the moment, trying to get by Sunboy in that Alfa Romeo. Of course, the other Alfa Romeo of Gel just ahead of them. JP had a look-see on Sunboy going into turn number 1, but had to back out of it. Couldn't do anything with that move, so he's got to follow the Alfa Romeo through. And Joe, you seem to really not be a fan of this track either, but tell me, if you were out there right now, if you're JP right on the back of Sunboy and you're getting anxious to make a move, where are you going to make that move?
I don't know. I think the move down the straight is too obvious and predictable. It's a good move to make, but with no DRS it's going to be very easy to read and defend. I think you've got to catch someone at the inside of turn 1 possibly. I've seen that a good place to make a move. That's where I'd go for.
So that's actually a different viewpoint than what I've heard before, Joe, is that, you know, a lot of times you see drivers making these predictable moves, but that's really a great way to think about it, is that, you know, making the traditional move down the long straightaway is a bit predictable, so you've got to try and catch your competitor off guard.
Well, that's exactly it, especially with no DRS to help you breeze past on that straight. You've got to make that pass with pure skill and pure pace, and it's easy to defend from if you know what you're doing as a defending car. You can go in slightly tight, get the car parked on the apex, and there's just no way past.
So still watching Sunboy, looking out the back at JP, getting a little bit closer there through the hairpin, but still can't quite do anything with it. And, you know, that's really the problem with the wet surface that we're dealing with right now, is you can't rely on the car's stopping power like you can in the dry. So you've got to brake a little bit early, and that really prevents you from making some honey badger moves, if I may be so bold to make a Daniel Ricciardo reference, for out-braking.
He's a king on the brakes. I don't blame you for making that reference one bit. He, in that Red Bull, my lord, seeing him get that car stopped every time I thought he'd be in the back of another car in the side of the wall, but he always got it stopped. It was crazy to watch.
Well, at the 2018 season, which that was before I was watching, but I got a recap of it. If that tells me anything, then I know that the Red Bulls still collided at least once.
Baku was a stressful race if you're a Red Bull fan, that's indeed. God, I would not want to be their team principal after that race, my lord.
Well, I know that from the Drive to Survive season that Christian Horner definitely had a few expletives to say after that.
He did indeed, I did see that too, yeah.
Which, you know, it is a given, and completely understandable. I know that would pretty much be my reaction too. But I'd say that another person who's got a few expletives to be saying right now would be Turok, because he is slowly watching that gap fade away to Keza. He had it down to about half a second or a little bit under, but now it's back up to about 9/10 of a second. He's finding a little bit of speed at the end of this straightaway. He's got it down to 8/10 of a second, but I think it's very apparent that right now Keza is faster.
Well, talking about unconventional moves, Simon made a move around O'Steven on the two left-handers before that little straight. It's not a conventional place to go for, as O'Steven is fighting back. He wants that position back. He won't let it go away too easily. He's just 1/10 behind as they go around onto the start-finish straight. This will be a battle to watch, I think.
So O'Steven in the Red Bull, Simon Palmer in the McLaren. Simon Palmer, he had a good start, but unfortunately he got caught up in that melee through turns 1 and 2, so that's why you see him all the way back in the 10th position. Otherwise, a strong qualifying result from the McLaren driver. It stands to reason that he might be able to recover something out of this. Maybe have a good day.
Well, he does look, he's got some pace if he can shake off O'Steven. Let's see how far he can climb up the field, especially if it does turn dry.
And as we ride on board with O'Steven, I can say that it looks to me that the rain has lightened up a little bit from when we started, but definitely nowhere near going on the racing slicks yet.
I don't know, I'm still seeing these puddles and the rain's hitting the top of the cars. I think it'll be plenty of laps yet until it gets dry. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
So hopefully the rain will go away quickly. That's going to really put a monkey wrench in these driver strategies, but those are the races that I love the most, Joe, because you really have to be on your feet and you have to think quick and understand your strategy to a T. And that's when sometimes it doesn't always favor the driver that's in the fastest car or the driver that had the best start or the one that has a little bit of luck. It favors the one who is good in the pits.
I like to brave staying out on the inters, even if it goes past my pit window, hoping for those dries to come in, because everyone else will pit the second time and you could gain up to 20 seconds by not taking that pit stop. It's always a good move, but if you make the wrong call, you do suffer badly.
And of course, let's not forget, though, that Reens was saying that he has seen a race go to where a driver has done no stops here in the wet. Now, granted, like we were saying, we expect it to dry up, so we doubt we're going to see that today. But imagine if it stayed wet and we did see a driver do a no stop.
I would love to see that, and you know what? Hats off to that guy. They will be my driver of the day if they manage to pull that one off. Someone's very close to the back of Jelly. He's almost pushed him through the corners. Wow, this is really some close racing. Big respect for these drivers. Keep it nice and clean.
And look just behind him, JP in that Ferrari. He's slowly coming. He wants to throw his hat into the ring. He wants to play a little bit too, but he can't quite get the exits that he needs to stick to the back of Sunboy like he really would like to. Of course, Ginger Tiger behind him as well. He's got his hands full of Simon Palmer, a hard-charging Simon Palmer that might just get the job done soon.
They're all going around here, wing to diffuser. One little mistake and they'll be behind to pounce on that one, that's for sure.
So we're right on board with JP. You see Sunboy just ahead trying to chase down Gel. And like you were saying, Joe, you know, Sunboy practically pushing Gel through the corner. Well, Sunboy, he is not wasting time. 0.3 of a second behind Gel. He might have an opportunity down the straightaway. This is when Sunboy really wishes that DRS was active.
Well, Gel will have the straight line speed being in the dry setup, so we'll see if he can make a move or not, as he is gaining, but it looks like he's just too far behind for now. It looks like another lap of frustration for Sunboy, stuck behind his on-track teammate today.
And, you know, that's a good point that you brought up, Joe, and maybe that was the difference for Gel that time down the straightaway, was that he has a dry setup on that car, so he had a little bit more straight line speed, and you saw that, you know, that Sunboy, it's almost like he was stuck outside of a bubble. He just couldn't quite reach it.
Well, you see the time difference being made up in the corners, which would suggest that. So we'll have to see. If it goes dry, this could be Gel's race.
And that's another thing, is that strategy game, it doesn't just start when it stops raining. It starts from, well, really from the moment you go out to qualifying, because that's when the Parc Ferme rules are in effect. So after that, there are very, very few things that you are allowed to change. So you have to more or less have your setup right when you go out to qualify.
Yeah, I think all you can change is just the angle of your front wing and your differential, isn't it? Or brake bias. So your brake bias, I can't remember. I don't tend to fiddle with them too much during the race.
Yeah, it is brake bias and differential, and then the front wing angle. So while it's good that we do have that adjustment available to us, it's really not a lot in the grand scheme of things.
No, it's not, and in all honesty, I don't understand which does which other than the front brake bias, so I would usually just leave my strategy as it is. If I've gone dry, I've committed to the dry. Maybe I'll add an extra click of front wing for the wet, but other than that, I won't fiddle with it too much.
So Simon Palmer chasing down JP might have an opportunity, but I think he's going to run out of straightaway. That he is, but he's still looking on the inside just in case he can make something of it, but he knows better, and he has to fall back in line and follow JP through, but he did make some significant ground down the straightaway. So Simon Palmer slowly working his way back through the field. Of course, we know he's got a top 5 car, but he was demoted back there to about the 10th position after a spin earlier on in this race. So now he's just trying to recover and figure out what he can get out of this thing. Meanwhile, we'll go and join his car-allocated teammate of Keza along with Turok in their little battle for the first and second positions, respectively. Turok is maintaining the gap, keeping it fairly consistent with about 8 to 9 tenths of a second behind Keza, but still quite cannot catch that McLaren driver. And one thing that I'm wondering is Turok actually pushing all that hard in this stage of the race? Because we are expecting it to dry up. It's lap 7 of 28, so we've got 22 laps to go. Turok doesn't need to push. He just needs to stay fairly close to Keza.
I have been watching this battle. They're pulling about 2 or 3 tenths a lap. They're bridging the gap to the rest of the field. They're looking like they're going to be running their own race soon if the guys can't pick up some speed.
Yeah, and almost 6 seconds ahead of Sir Spud there in third, which Sir Spud is somewhat comfortably riding in the third position. Russman 1.3 seconds behind, but from what I can tell has not made any significant gains here in the last couple of laps. But Russman, one of those drivers that really does need a good day here. He's in a championship battle with his teammate of Smoke, which is just one position behind him in fifth. So if the race were to end right now, Russman would not be passing his teammate, and that would leave him only 2 more races to beat his teammate in the driver's standings.
No, that is very true. I'm sure Russman will be caught
and
in 2
we got a
minds
battle
of
side by
Simon.
side with Simon Palmer and Ginger Tiger. And on the outside, Simon Palmer uses the momentum to his advantage, but Ginger Tiger will not let that McLaren go. It's going to be side by side through the final corner this time. What's Ginger Tiger going to do? He has to let him go. Simon Palmer gets the 9th place back. There's a battle for you, Joe.
He was on the inside. Ginger had to yield position there, or that would have ended nastily. He wasn't ahead, so he made the right move there. There's plenty of laps to go. I'm sure he'll be going for it again as he goes on the inside of turn 1. Like I said to you, it's a good place to make a move. But Simon's not done there. He will try and hold around the outside, but he doesn't make it stick. Ginger is ahead.
And look behind Simon. Steven wants to play 2/10 of a second down the straightaway. Steven very close within that danger zone of making a move on Simon Palmer. So now Simon doesn't just have to worry about Ginger Tiger. He's got to worry about what's happening out behind him as well. And, you know, we saw Simon actually get fairly close to JP. So I'm wondering if something happened to Simon. Maybe he had a half spin that kind of brought him back to Ginger Tiger.
I don't know. I didn't catch it. I thought they were all pretty close together. I don't know if they were just battling. They've lost all that time because they were going side by side through a few corners. I didn't see what happened.
Steven, he had a little bit of a treacherous moment to where he was trying to get by Simon Palmer and had a little bit of a corner cut. I surprisingly do not think he picked up a warning or a time penalty or anything like that from it. But nonetheless, when you cut the corners like this in the wet conditions, it can upset the car a little bit more than what you want. And Steven making a move on Simon Palmer. Simon tried to throw a block on him, but couldn't do anything with it. So Simon going to try to go back on the offensive here, but Steven throwing a block on Simon Palmer. Simon looking on the inside. Can he do anything with it? No, he can't. And now we've got Speed Queen 80 trying to look on the outside of Simon Palmer. Simon might lose 2 spots. They're making contact through the hairpin.
I wasn't watching that when I was watching Sunboy and Joe as they went round the corner at the end of the straight. Sunboy looked at the inside, it almost ended in contact. They've lived to fight another day.
Taking a look at Sunboy and Gel now through turns 1, 2, and 3. A little bit of a corkscrew, I guess you could say. If Laguna Seca in America has a corkscrew, well, then the Chinese Grand Prix track here has got its own little corkscrew in the first sector.
I've not seen the Laguna Seca track, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that one, I'm afraid.
Oh my goodness, Joe, after this race, you've got to look it up. It is insane.
Is it indeed? How long is the track?
Well, I don't know the size of the track, but the corkscrew itself, I'm surprised that any driver can go through there, and I can only imagine what it's like to go through the corkscrew, because it's very similar to what the first sector is here, to where it's just a sudden downhill slope.
Well, I might have to have a look at that one. That sounds very interesting. Not sure I'd want to race around it, but I'd love to watch somebody else.
Well, it has certainly had its fair share of wicked crashes in its time, too.
What is it that races around the track?
Oh, a number of things, actually. I believe the IndyCar actually was there last year. I think IMSA races there as well, and beyond that, I am not sure, but I'd say that a number of different touring series have visited the track over the years.
My knowledge of American... Is it an American track, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, my knowledge of American tracks and American motorsports is not as great as my English knowledge, I'm afraid. I'd have to take your word for that one.
So we're having a little bit of a battle between the Alfa Romeos and the Ferraris here. Sunboy looking underneath of Gel, but could not get off the corner that time. And, you know, again, you got to remember, Gel is in that dry setup, and Sunboy, he's in the wet setup. But as we ride on board with Sunboy, I want to bring your attention to something very important. It is no longer raining.
It is. I didn't notice, but now you pointed it out, it does look the case. We'll see if this plays into Gel's hands, as Sunboy is really pushing him through the corners. I thought he was going to go for a move through turn 1 there, and into turn 2.
Sunboy looking underneath of Gel, but will he be able to get the move done? No, he doesn't. He has to back out of it. What will this mean for JP just behind him? JP not close enough to be making a move. Sunboy trying to look on the outside, trying to do a crossover move. Is he going to be able to do it? Yes, he does, but does he clear Gel? Almost clearing him, not quite. It's a side-by-side battle between the two Alfa Romeos, but Sunboy finally gets the job done. And I tell you, I think he was racing him for about 5 to 7 laps, at least.
That was an interesting battle. He was begging to get past, but Joe will have the advantage down the straight, so it's not over just yet.
And Gel getting very close to the back of Sunboy, almost some contact there, but he keeps it clean. Now this big long straightaway, that's the one that we're really going to have to watch. We'll ride on board with Gel. Oh, but he has a little bit of a slide. He has to hang on to it, so a good save by Gel, but that is going to be a huge detriment to his potential of getting by Sunboy. But let's look at the time interval. He's not actually gaining any ground because JP is making a move on the outside of Gel, so move him up into the 7th position. JP finally got that job done. Now he can have a look on Sunboy, but ran out of straightaway, couldn't do anything with it. But now he can at least see Sunboy, and he's back to racing him. Gel really going the wrong way here.
No, the exit out of that corner really compromises strategy there. As Ginger Tiger has, I don't know if he's gone around or got some contact, but he's dropping down the field as he goes into the pits. Maybe that's the front wing damage. Maybe he thought it's a good idea to pit now. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. He's not the only one in the pits though. It does look like Sav is joining him as he goes a bit wide. Luckily there's no gravel there anymore. I'm sure Lewis Hamilton would have something to say about that one. It does look like it's not a front wing change for Ginger, so that was just a strategy choice. But Sav is changing his front wing. I don't know how much damage he has.
So meanwhile, we'll take a look at Matty for a moment here, because him and Speed Queen 80 are battling fairly close together. 0.3 of a second separating them through this corner here. Of course, Speed Queen 80, our pole sitter, unfortunately suffered a spin on lap 1, turn 1, and ever since has been trying to play catch up.
Oh, and Ginger's in the wall again. It looks like it's not ready for the soft tyres, or mediums he's on even. It's not ready for those dry tyres just yet. I thought Sab maybe made the wrong decision coming in to change the front wing and going back out on the inters, but it's not ready for dry tyres just yet.
So Ginger Tiger being the guinea pig for everyone else, and I guess that everyone except himself is thanking him right now, because now they have very important data that they can fall back on, which is stay out on the intermediates for a little bit longer.
I hope no one uses the brake markers down that corner as Ginger's taking them all out. God, he looks all over the place on those dries. Definitely a too early pit stop for him.
JP getting a little bit closer to Sunboy down the straightaway, but Sunboy, a better corner, gained some time on JP that time. Now, we ride on board with JP in the Ferrari, and we're looking at the track surface, and we can really see that it is still very, very damp. There's really not a lot of puddles per se, but it's a very damp surface, and toward the edge of the track, you saw actually a little bit of mist coming out from underneath of Sunboy's car. So, you know, it does stand to reason that it certainly is not yet time for the dry tires. Now, it's looking a little bit drier in turn 1 than it did through the final corner. So the track is slowly drying up, but my non-professional estimate is 5 laps minimum before we really start to see the slicks being viable.
You reckon it's going to be that long? I don't know. I think it might be closer than you think. Usually I go by when the DRS activates. It's time to dive it in the pits. I did see Simon's gone in. He's gone in for the mediums. We'll see how they work for him.
And
Saba's gone round, sorry. I've just seen Saba's gone round. At the end of the straight, he's really struggling today, Saba's.
Well, Simon Palmer having a little bit of wheel spin out of the pits, but not actually spinning the car. But there you see he does spin through turn 1. The medium tire's not yet working, so he has floored that thing, trying to get it spun back around. Does not make contact with the wall, but he's lost a lot of valuable time.
No, if you're near the back, it's a risk that you might want to take. Unfortunately, it's not paid off so far for these three.
So Keza and Turok battling very close together. 0.5 of a second separating these two drivers that time, and Turok had a good exit out of the hairpin, but still not close enough to think about making a move on Keza. Keza has dominated this race so far. This is the Invictus Racing League's PlayStation Realistic Performance League Chinese Grand Prix, brought to you in partnership with GridFinder.com, sponsored by Nailcoat Hall. You got Keza, Turok, and Sir Spud, your top 3, Rustman and Smoke, your top 5.
Saba's gone round again, I'm afraid to say. Oh, he's retired on the track. That's an interesting one. That is. He's left the session. Looks like he got a bit frustrated with that one.
So did he wreck on track, or was it a retirement on track?
He just span. It looked like he lost it going out turn 1. He got a 5-second penalty coming out the pits. He went over those white exit lines, and with the race leaders right behind, it was a penalty that was given. And I think he's lost it around turn 1, and he's called it a day there, I'm afraid.
So unfortunately for Sab, it's 15th place DNF for him today. No points for the Mercedes driver, but Turok getting a little bit closer to Keza this time around, and Turok, he is slowly starting to find some pace in this Ferrari, and you were talking earlier about how they pretty much left the rest of the field. Well, it's a 10-second gap back to third, so this is the race for the lead, and they are pretty much running their own race, almost a side-by-side moment between the two of them, and almost some contact, but both of them keeping it very clean here. Let's see which driver is going to have the better advantage down the straightaway. Keza versus Turok, and you see the track surface starting to dry up even more. And, you know, I'm starting to think, Joe, that maybe you're right. Maybe my estimate was a little bit overestimated, but we'll have to wait and see when the drivers decide to go for the slick tires. Everyone that has tried it so far, it has not worked out for him, but eventually it's going to have to.
There is still a little bit of spray coming off the back of the cars. It is just too early, but I think 2 more laps and we could be seeing them go in.
So Turok still maintaining a consistent gap behind Keza. So he has done a fantastic job to stay as close to Keza as he has. Now, Joe, has something ever happened like this in a race that you have ran? And how difficult is it to keep a driver within striking distance for as long as Turok has?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because although I've not really been this way around, on Tuesday around China, I had actually Ginger Tiger himself. He was right behind me for a good 10-15 laps, keeping me in striking distance. Nor it takes us a little twitch to lose that, and especially if it's dry, the DRS, you do fall off the back, so it's a hard push as you follow them through the corners. You've got to play it careful, because it is easy to drop the car underneath that turbulent air. It is a difficult one.
Of course, we are still waiting for the DRS to be activated, and I'd say that it could not come a moment too soon for Turok. But while we're still seeing that spray come off the back of those cars, and while the surface is still a bit wet like it is, I'd say we are not seeing the DRS. But as Joe has said, when you see that DRS notification that it has been activated, you might want to think about making a pit stop. Let's see if Joe's estimate is correct. And, you know, I'm starting to think that maybe I need to listen to this guy.
I think one more lap and we're going to be seeing the dries. It'll be interesting to see who blinks first, Keza or Tarak, and whether they copy each other's strategy.
So on board with Tarak once again, and you can see that slipstream really paying dividends for him. He gains about a tenth or two down the straightaway, but without the assistance of DRS and without the grip of a dry racetrack, it's very, very difficult for him to really make a move. So that's why hats off to him for keeping Keza within striking distance for as long as he has. But even hats off to Keza for running the stellar race that he has at this point, because he really has been a dominating force.
Yes, he's driving with a masterclass here. He's got a car in his rearview mirror, but he's not blinking just yet.
Meanwhile, some teammates swapping positions because Russman has went into the pit, so Smoke goes into 4th place, but that was just an overtake on track from a driver in the pits. So Russman, what tire does he go on, actually? Let's take a look at this AlphaTauri pit stop. Looks like they are going to be fitting the intermediate tire, so Russman not confident in the slicks yet.
And that could be a bold move for the championship. I think in a couple of laps' time it will be the dry tyres, whether that was his pit crew making a mistake or he did choose that, I don't know. Or he might know something we don't and that it's going to rain again soon. We'll have to see.
Well, assuming it's not going to rain, if I know Smoke like I do, then I would just about guarantee that he is holding off for the dry tires and waiting for the moment that they become viable. And look at Tarak, though, getting close to Keza. I thought for a moment that he might have had an opportunity to get underneath him, but he ran out of straightaway, and there is your DRS notification, Joe. So let's see if Keza and Tarak pulls into the pits this time.
This is the lap I told you. We'll see. I think it might be time for the dries.
And it certainly could not have came a moment too soon for Tarak, because he does have the DRS now, and he's going to be able to make a move on Keza side by side into the hairpin. The Ferrari of Tarak gets the move done, move him up into the first position. But now, when will we see the pit stops? Which one of these two will be the first to blink? Will the other one follow him through? Tarak is going to stay out for at least one more lap, and so is Keza.
That's a bold move. We'll see if it works. They've got the time, though. They don't need to worry about making a silly mistake. They can stay out for one lap longer if everyone else goes in. And I think with that 11-second gap, they should be fine.
So Sir Spud, he's pitting. I would say that it's going to be for Racing Slick Sunboy, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so that is not going to help his race at all. Let's see what Sir Spud does. It is going to be soft tires for the Red Bull driver. And if you take a look at the track surface, we'll ride on board with Keza so you can take a look at it. It is starting to dry up. This section's a little bit damp. The first sector is drier. Then the second and third, it still has some work to be done. But I'd say that about now is when we need to be seeing these slick tires, and the drivers obviously agree with me here. So let's see when Tarak and Keza dive down.
Well, JP's in with a wing change at the moment. He lost it coming out the final straight there. Hopefully, no, he's out in plenty of time before his on-track teammate gets there. I'd hate to see them hold up the front in that fashion.
And Joe, here's something that we've been wanting to see. Russman on the intermediates, and then Sir Spud on the soft tire. And Russman is actually holding his own, and Sir Spud has a bit of a half spin there. So if Russman had been able to get to the outside of the Red Bull, he would have been able to overtake him, but he actually had to back out of it just a little bit to avoid hitting him.
I think Russman's not made the right call here going on to the inters. Through the corners, he's losing loads of time. But on the I did see a bit of rain then coming down. Or was that just me through that corner?
No, it is raining. It is raining again, Joe.
Wow, wow, wow. Russman could be on for a winner here.
We'll wait and see. His teammate is Smoke. He is on the medium tire just behind him. So we'll see if the medium prevails, if the soft prevails, or if the intermediates prevail. Keza and Tarak, they're both in the pits. Let's see what tires they're going to go on.
I think it's got to be the mediums. They could go to the end, couldn't they?
Surely they can go to the end, as long as it does not start pouring.
Well, that's it. I don't know. The softs is going to be a push to take them to the end. We'll have to see. I think Speed Queen is... She's sure she can keep that pace up on those softs, but towards the end of the race, I'm not too sure.
Well, don't forget about Sir Spud in third as well. He's going to have to take those soft tires to the end.
That's very true. Russman's decided not to pit, though. Whether he knows something we don't, again, about the weather, I don't know, but he's still staying out there on those inters.
it looked like the rain was only coming down around the second or third sector. So that could really be a crucial factor in this. The question is, though, will the rain pretty much will it rain more over the track, or will most of the track stay in the drive? We're starting to have our own little Russian Grand Prix from last season.
Let's not talk about that one.
Are you a Lando Norris fan?
I'm not a Lando. I am a Lando. I do like Lando Norris, but I was disappointed for him. It looked like his first race win. It was just snatched away from him. I couldn't watch.
Yeah, I do have to say that was a bit painful to watch as well. And I'm not really a McLaren fan. They're just there. But it was unfortunate to see that opportunity, his best opportunity in a win thus far, and him losing out on it.
It was heartbreak. As a British driver who's relatively new onto the scene, he's got a couple of seasons under his belt now, but seeing him progressing up the standings after watching him around Austria last year, I thought he was on for a good season, and I thought that would be his first race win, but it was snatched away by the weather, I'm afraid.
So Russman battling with Sir Spud here, Russman and Smoke battling nose to tail with Sir Spud being 3.2 seconds ahead. JP retired from the session, and that is actually on track. It's a wreck, and it is now a safety car.
Russell's got to go in.
Comes out, and yes, he does. He pits, Smoke does not. That was the best thing that could have happened for Russman.
I think it has saved him a little bit. He will fall down the standings, but he was going to have to put those inters away at some point.
But now he can go onto the soft tire. And theoretically, he should have more pace.
He should have more pace, we'll see. His championship rival will be a bit far up the field, though. We'll see how he manages it.
So unfortunately for JP, our winner from Bahrain earlier in the season, he will not be winning this race. Of course, JP, he's got about 2 or 3 wins on the season, so he has done a decent job thus far. But one of those jobs is not going to be in China, sadly.
I'll tell you what, Russman's lost a lot less positions than I expected. He's came out in 7th. His championship rival and teammate is only in 4th. So those soft tyres with everyone behind, they could be chasing down our race leaders, that's for sure.
And Russman is the first driver on brand new soft tires. Sir Spud, he's got 1 lap under his belt on those soft compound tire, but out of the drivers that just pitted under the safety car, Russman is leading that little pack of soft tire runners, so that could bode well for him. He doesn't really have anyone in his way except for the drivers on the medium compound, so he's going to be ready to pounce when that safety car pulls in.
Yeah, it looked like a really good strategy in the end for Russman. Had he have pitted earlier, he would have been on the mediums, maybe. He wanted those softs into the end, although I'm still seeing some rain around that exact same corner. I don't know if it's just a glitch of the game, but on the visor of Russman as he goes around those 2 corners, the rain does hit the top of his car.
So we ride on board with Russman, but it is dry here in this sector. So maybe it is just isolated into one specific area of the track.
It does look that way. In Sector 2 round turns 8, 9 and 10, it does look like there's a bit of rainfall still. It could catch them out though on those dry tyres. If they're fighting side by side as they go through those corners, it could end up with some dicey situations.
So Russman just trying to catch the safety car cue, as is, well, really everybody. The safety car looks like it's in about turns 4 or 5 right now. Russman, I'm not sure what he's doing. He keeps stopping on track, and then he starts to pull away again. Not sure if he's trying to get a little bit of grip in his or heat, mind you, in his rear tires, or if he's just having trouble matching the delta, or what's happening.
I think it is a delta problem. I think we've all been there. You put your foot down around the corner and the delta drops, and you've got to watch it because you will get a drive-through penalty if you don't pay too much attention. I've fallen a sucker to that one before. It's not fun.
Of course, Ginger Tiger, he did just receive a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, so it has already happened in this race. Here is an update on your penalties, though. It's 3 seconds for Sunboy, 3 seconds for Simon Palmer, and of course the drive-through for Ginger Tiger. It is lap 19 of 28 of the Invictus Racing League's PlayStation Performance League Chinese Grand Prix. Brought to you in partnership with GridPlanner.com and sponsored by Nailco Hall. Big thank you to our sponsors for jumping on board, supporting the stream, and the league as a whole. hole. We're under safety car because of the Ferrari of JP wrecking on track, bringing it out just a few laps ago. Turok, Keza, and Sir Spud, your top 3, with Smoke and O'Steven, your top 5. Rustman, Sunboy, Speed Queen 80, Gel, and Nitro Gas, your top 10, with Maddie, Simon Palmer, and Ginger Tiger, the rest of the field.
That drive-through is going to be a killer for Ginger. He's already a lap down, and I don't think you can serve the drive-through under the safety car, can you?
You cannot. You have to wait until it goes green. You might be able to get away with it serving it as the safety car pulls in after it's already went green, but I've seen drivers try that and it's worked. I've also seen them try it and it's failed.
I made the rookie mistake of pitting under the safety car for a drive-through. Yeah, it doesn't work.
See, the trick is you have to wait until the safety car's already pulled in and the field is going back green. Then maybe you'll be able to get away with making your drive-through, but you have to time it right. And I have seen drivers not time it right, and then they have just lost themselves an enormous amount of time.
I think it is easy. It is an easy mistake to make, though, because you can serve your normal time penalties under the safety car, just not that drive-through. So if they've maybe served already one time penalty through the race, they might be like, oh, that's fine, I'll drop the drive-through through the pits, and they will see that you cannot do that.
So I'd say that we're going to have one more lap of safety car before we go back green. Most of the drivers have caught the cue. There are a few stragglers there in the back, but hey, you know, if they can actually catch it here soon, then maybe we'll go back green this time. But I'd say that we're going to have to wait at least one more lap.
I think you would be right with that one, yeah. It was going to be one more lap, I'd have thought. Matty and Simon are a bit far back. I think just going into the third sector now, which is usually where they think about telling the drivers that the safety car is in that lap, so I think it will be one more.
So that means that it will be a 6 or 7 lap shootout to the finish. I believe that's a 6 lap shootout to the finish. When we go back green, it'll be lap 22 of 28. Turok and Keza, they have been the class of the field. Keza, the dominating driver. Turok, the guy that followed him the whole race and finally got by him about 6 laps ago. Sir Spud, he has ran in third pretty much all day, just running his own race, at one time being 36 seconds behind the top 2 drivers, but with this safety car, it's brought him right back into the mix.
This will be interesting. Only 3 cars on the medium tyres now. I don't know if they will struggle too much. We'll have to wait and see, but Kaz and Tarak you did see they got the pace over the rest of the field, so maybe they will just be okay, but I don't know. It's brave.
I don't think that it's going to be a drastic difference to where we're going to see someone like Sir Spud or Rustman shoot to the top of the field and stay there. However, I would not be surprised if Smoke, being there in 4th place, surrounded by soft tires everywhere that he looks, if he's not in a little bit of a dicey situation.
I think Rustman will be fancying himself here with those soft tires. Only Sir Spud in front of him. And he did look like he had the pace to keep up with Sir Spud, so I think he's in a good position here.
And that's really going to be Smoke's saving grace, though, is having his teammate right there behind him, because you know that Rustman, he wants to do well for himself, but a teammate's not going to go out and wreck his teammate. So Rustman being right behind Smoke, it's going to give him a little bit of breathing room, but he is still going to have to attack Sir Spud when we go back green if he wants a podium out of this.
I don't think the breathing room's going to be as big as you think. Rustman's going to want to get that position off him. I'm sure he will go for it cleanly, but he's going to be interested in taking that position.
We're about to find out and see which tire is the better choice here, soft or medium. Will Turok be able to win? Will Keza get the win? He's been dominating all day long. Will Sir Spud finally win that 8th Realistic Performance League race and become the winningest driver in the series? It's all about to play out here, and now the safety car is coming in this lap. We'll ride on board with Keza. We'll watch Turok. He will be the control car. He gets to decide when we restart this race, as long as it's before the start-finish line once that safety car pulls in. So Turok sweeping and swerving, trying to get all the heat in his tires that he can, because he is going to need it for this final laps shootout.
He will have to make sure he keeps a decent distance from the safety car, though. If you get too close, it won't let you pull away too quickly, so he does have to be mindful of that.
And there you see Keza actually catching him a little bit and having to apply the brakes. A little bit of a lockup there from Keza.
I'm sure it was nothing too bad. I'm sure his mediums will be okay with that one.
It was certainly minor. But here we go, Turok, he's waiting, he's went, and Turok gets a fantastic jump over Keza. Keza was caught sleeping just a little bit, has a bit of a moment out of the final corner, but hangs on to it, and we are back racing 22 of 28 laps for the Chinese Grand Prix. Sir Spud here in third. We ride on board with him. You can see the 2 leaders ahead of him. Sir Spud on those soft tires, though, doing a good job at holding off Smoke so far. Smoke and Rustman nose to tail, and this is the championship battle that you're looking at on your screen. Rustman trying to find a way around his teammate in the Aston Martin, looking on the inside, but it will turn to the outside when they get to the next corner. And Rustman, he had a moment, he had a look, but he cannot complete the pass. Smoke will hold on to the 4th position for now, but here comes Rustman on the inside of Smoke. It's going to be a side-by-side battle. Smoke likely will let him through, and he does. So move Rustman up into the 4th position. No, actually, they're battling side-by-side. Smoke does not want to let Rustman go.
That was some good racing from the pair of them. Rustman did come off ahead. He's going to be happy about that one. He's going to be chasing down Sir Spud as he almost falls out that second range. He's looking for those top 3 positions, Rustman. He's not going to give up that easily. I'm sure Smoke won't either.
Smoke losing a position to O'Steven now. A little bit of contact there. And Smoke just trying to recover and hang on. He said he didn't like this track, and it's very apparent. He's just trying to salvage a top 5 out of it today. Rustman, his teammate, comfortably in 4th at the moment and trying to chase down Sir Spud just ahead of him. Meanwhile, you saw in Sector 2 there is a couple of corners where it is still raining, but mostly this is a dry track, and it is very apparent that the racing slicks are the preferred tire compound. The battle for the lead starting to heat up. Keza slowly getting closer to Turok. Half a second now, 0.4 of a second separating those 2 drivers, and it was Keza who ran the fastest lap that time.
Joe is looking for a move, but he has picked up a penalty there. He's going alongside, I think that's Smoke. Smoke has really fallen through the order here with these medium tyres. It was not a good choice. Kez and Tarak seem to be okay on them as he goes back up the inside of Joe. This is some brilliant racing, but the inside turns out to the outside line as Joe does keep that position on those soft tyres. He will not be looking to give up that one too easily as he does come out ahead.
So Smoke at this point, he just needs to hang on, and I'm wondering, why is the medium tires that bad for him, but not for Turok and Keza?
I don't know. They did have some serious pace up top. Maybe it's that one. Maybe it's the traction zones with the mediums when you're fighting with those on the softs. The softs always going to get the better exit. Those 2 mediums at the top, they are on their own. They're in their own league. They're racing incredibly.
And meanwhile, Rustman getting close to Sir Spud, trying to move into the 3rd position. He wants a podium out of this, and he might just be able to have it. And that safety car really did save Rustman's race, Joe, because he was able to pit for the soft tire. He restarted about 7th place, but he's been able to move himself up into 4th and in very close proximity to the 3rd position here. He might get it this time. He's right on the back of Sir Spud, looking on the inside now. It could be a side-by-side battle through the hairpin. Sir Spud trying to throw a block on him, can't do anything with it. He has to let Rustman through, so it's side-by-side once again, and now O'Steven trying to follow Rustman through against his car-allocated teammate of Sir Spud, and O'Steven gets the move done. Sir Spud loses 2 spots in 1 corner.
It is. It's looking like he's going backwards here, Sir Spud, I'm afraid. Rustman's climbing up the field. He's not giving up just yet as Smoke is falling back down further. He's been overtaken by Simon Palmer and Speed Queen round that straight as DRS is enabled for this next lap.
And that's the best thing for O'Steven right now, who is right on the gearbox of Rustman in that AlphaTauri. O'Steven really showing what he's made of here today. He has had a decent day running around the top 5, give or take a few positions all day long. And now, in the closing stages of this race, he finds himself battling for a podium position against one of the championship competitors.
Well, it is close, isn't it? O'Steven is not going to be dropping too far behind Rustman as he wants to take that podium today off Rustman, but Smoke is again falling even further down. He's down to 10th now, I'm afraid. In those mediums, they really are not holding up for him. We'll see how the mediums of Keza's working as Rustman is slowly closing that gap down.
And Speed Queen 80 getting by Gel, and of course her teammates of Sir Spud as well. Of course, Sir Spud and Speed Queen driving for Speed Spud this season. Speed Queen 80 doing a good job to rebound to a top 5 running position at the moment. A few more laps and she can call it a top 5 finishing position if she can hang on. Here is the update on the time penalties. 3 seconds for Gel, 3 seconds for Simon Palmer, 3 seconds for Sunboy. And here goes Gel looking underneath of Speed Queen 80. Will he get the move done? Yes, he does. But will Speed Queen 80 be able to go back on the offensive and get back by him? No, not this time. So move Gel up into the 5th position.
I tell you what, Gel went very deep into that corner.
Oh, and Sir Spud spins. There was contact with Simon Palmer, I believe. And Sir Spud has spun out of the final corner.
He's just sitting there. He's probably in so much disappointment as he was slipping down the field, but he's just sat there on the edge of the track. He doesn't look very impressed. He is getting the car going again. I don't know if he's got damage. I can't tell, but he's going to be very disappointed with that one.
And I'm sure so, because he at least had a top 5 potentially going for him today. And then that contact sent him around. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I saw him racing side by side through that corner, and they were very close, practically right up against one another. And maybe Sir Spud clipped the curb, but regardless, hard racing led to a spin.
It did look that way. It didn't look like any malicious movements from either drivers, just 2 people around almost a right angle of a corner. It's always going to end in problems if one driver doesn't back out from that one.
And you know, Joe, you said that you're not familiar with American motorsports, but over here with short track racing, in stock cars, it is very much a contact sport just because of the nature of the racetracks. They're so small that it's very hard to not have contact. So when stuff like that happens, they just say that the drivers ran out of real estate.
Is that true? There's a lot of contact then going on in those kind of races.
There actually is. Not necessarily every race, but the track that I announce for during the week, it is definitely very common to see someone pushing a driver down the straightaway, but that's the thing. They know to push you down the straightaway. You don't do it in the corner, because obviously that's going to upset the car. But we got to go back to the race. I will tell you those stories in a minute, because Keza is getting closer to Tarak and almost had an opportunity to get the lead from him going into turn number 1.
He did look for that inside move up turn number 1, didn't he? I told you it's a good place to make a move, and I've seen it a few times this race, and it was almost done again.
Lap 26 of 28 here, just a handful of laps to go. 3 laps to go, to be exact. And Keza trying to win this race. He has led the majority of the laps today, and if points were given out for most laps led, I'd say that it'd be Keza's easily. But he is not leading right now, and that is what he is not approving of. They are still pulling away, though, 2.2 seconds over O'Steven, despite O'Steven being on soft tires. So that just goes to show how fast Tarak and Keza are today.
They're in a class of their own up the top there. It's incredible. On those medium tyres, they're holding that 2.4, 2.3 second gap to the cars behind, as Russman will be battling for that 3rd place. Maybe even hold them up a bit more to keep Keza and Tarak ahead, but it's only a couple of laps left. He's going to have to make this move soon if he wants to get past.
Simon Palmer using the slipstream trying to get by Gel. Let's see if he's able to do it into the hairpin this time. He's looking on the outside. Does he clear him? Yes, he does. Move Simon Palmer up into the 6th position.
It's a brilliant move. I think Keza might look up the inside of turn 1 again on Tarak. Tarak is weaving over the straight. He's going around the outside. Keza for the race lead around the outside on the 1st turn. He's going to make it a stick. It does look like he is ahead. Tarak slots in behind. He'll be waiting for that straight, I think, to get back past. But it was a brilliant move by Keza up into the race lead.
And Keza really using the momentum that you can build on the outside of that corner to complete that pass. And Keza pretty much made it look effortless.
That move is a brave, brave move as they come close together as they go into turn 2. But that outside line does turn into the inside line. And if you can make it stick, it does look promising for the rest of that lap.
Lap 27 of 28, just 2 laps to go. You are watching the battle for the lead, and if we don't have to, we will not turn away, because this is what these 28 laps have been building up to, or 27 laps right now, a 28-lap race. This is the Invictus Racing League's PlayStation Performance League, brought to you in partnership with GridFinder.com, sponsored by Nailco Hall. Big thank you to our sponsors for jumping on board, supporting the stream and the league as a whole. Something's happened to Gel, though. Let's take a look and see what's happened to him. The Alfa Romeo driver, he just lost some positions, though. He lost them pretty quickly, and now he picked up another 3-second time penalty. We definitely saw that one going a little bit wide. Meanwhile, Matty trying to duck and weave behind him to block Sunboy's advance, but Sunboy, he's going to go around him for the 9th position, so move him up a spot on your scorecards. And now it is lap 28 of 28, last lap, one more to go. Tarak versus Keza. This is the battle for the lead, the battle for the win. The two dominating drivers all day long get to battle it out for one final lap.
I think Gel did pick up some damage. He's fallen down the field here. He's not got the pace on the straight. He's been overtaken in the corners. Nitro is trying to push him through turn one even. They are going side by side. He's slotted in behind for now, but I don't know if Gel's picked up some damage. He looks like he's struggling out there.
So meanwhile, the leaders are in the second sector. Tarak, 0.6 of a second behind Keza. He knows that he needs to build up more he needs to get closer to this McLaren if he is going to be able to make this move stick. We're going to have one more DRS zone coming up, and then only down the front straightaway for a few hundred feet will Tarak be able to use DRS once again. So if he's going to get the move done, he's going to have to do it on this straightaway. Keza and Tarak have led the majority of the laps today. They have been very dominant, and you can look no further than the leaderboard to see that. 2.8 seconds over third place, and Tarak has got the DRS on Keza, and he has got the slipstream, and he is gaining on him. We're going to see maybe a last lap pass going to the hairpin. Tarak does not want to let Keza stay ahead of him, but I think he's not going to have an opportunity.
Oh, no!
Tarak spins!
Oh,
Tarak
dear!
has spun out of the hairpin. He's not going to be able to get the win. He's not going to get a podium. Keza, through the final corner, will cross the line and win the Chinese Grand Prix. O'Steven finishes in second, and Russman in third. Tarak, a very, very well-fought effort, very valiant effort, but coming up a few spots short after a spin in the penultimate corner in fourth. Speed Queen 80 in fifth after her unfortunate spin on lap 1. Simon Palmer in sixth, Maddie in seventh, Nitro Gash in eighth, Sunboy in ninth. 10th is Smoke, 11th is Gel, Sir Spud in the 13th position, or the 12th position, excuse me, with Ginger Tiger in the 13th position.
Well, I feel Tarak must have his heart in his mouth right now. He went for glory, and luckily he didn't lose it all. He did only fall down to fourth, but that's got to hurt being in the top two all race.
And truthfully, there was nothing else that he could have done. He tried to get to the outside of Keza. He just barely missed it by inches. And then he tried the crossover move through the hairpin. It looked like he had a good exit, and he tried to floor it to get as much speed as he could, and he just got some wheel spin.
It did it that way. You try and get your foot down too quick out that straight, and you will just spin the car, and that is what happened. As though Steven picks up the driver of the day. Who would you say was your driver of the day today, Tim?
I guess I do got to give it to O'Steven. A good podium finish there at the end.
I would agree. I think I would be happy to go with O'Steven as well.
So your official finishing results for the Invictus Racing League's PlayStation Performance League Chinese Grand Prix is Keza in first, with O'Steven in second, Russman in third, Tarak in fourth, fifth is Speed Queen 80, Simon Palmer in sixth, seventh is Maddie, Nitro Gash in eighth, ninth is Sunboy, 10th is Smoke, Gel in 11th, 12th is Sir Spud, 13th is Ginger Tiger, 14th is JP, Sab in the 15th position. We'll talk to our top three finishers of Keza, O'Steven, and Russman if they decide to join, but what an interesting race that was, Joe.
That was a brilliant race. Keza and Tarak with the speed all through that race, but it didn't end that way, as O'Steven climbed from 13th to 2nd. I'm sure I'll have something to say about that, as the strategy must have worked well for him.
And Joe, this was your commentary debut, so tell us, what did you think about it, and are we going to see you next week?
Well, it's definitely a different seeing it here as the rain is pouring around China. It was an interesting race and a fun one to watch. It's a shame it started under the wet, but it made for a brilliant race, and I couldn't have been happy with how this race has gone.
Well, I know we got Rustman in here just waiting to see if O. Steven and Keza will join us as well. And there we go. Speak of one of the Devils, Keza has already joined. So now we just got to wait for O. Steven. Then we will be ready for our interviews. Oh, and there you go. O. Steven joining as well. So we will get to the showroom. Meanwhile, guys, please make sure that you have allowed your voice to be shared. If you don't know how to do that, go over to the party settings, click Always Allow, and let me know when you're ready.
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, well, we will start with our winner, the McLaren of Keza. I've got so many questions for you, Keza. First off, congratulations on your win, but tell us, how were you able to be so dominant for the entire race, and what was it like through the final couple of corners with Turok right there on you?
Well, I think it's fair to say it's probably one of the better races I've done. I personally didn't realise I was going to be so good in the wet. To be honest, that shocked me, even me. But yeah, I'll take it. It's a win. Yeah, the last few corners, I think I got a scruffy exit going into the long right-hander into the third sector. So I knew Turok would be on me back anyway. I think it was just about putting the car in the right place, making sure he commits to the outside, and I've got the one favourable to come out. But yeah, I think it was unlucky from his side, spinning right at the end. I think we both had a really good race, and it's just unlucky he's not here on the podium.
So what was going through your mind on the last lap down the straightaway when you know that Turok has got DRS and you know that he's coming and there's very little that you can do to defend?
Well, I was sweating a bit. It was quite tense. I saw it going down the last straight. I tensed up, hoping that I wouldn't run out of VRS, which I did anyway. But I just think he had a bit too much of a gap to have a proper go. But yeah, it was pretty tense. I was a bit nervous going through them last corners. But yeah, I'll take the win. It's a nice haul of points.
Definitely a good day for you. Congratulations.
Cheers, thank you.
Now we'll talk to O. Steven in the Red Bull P2. Probably not expecting to finish in second place when you were going into the hairpin that final time, but Turok's mistake was your gain. And, you know, to be fair, you ran around the top 5 the whole day. So is it fair to say that you enjoy China in the wet?
In the wet, generally on this game, I am absolutely rubbish at it. So to take a P2 in the end is absolutely fantastic, to be honest. I don't have pace in the wet, and as you could see on the stream, I wasn't that quick, but I knew it would dry up halfway through, and then when the safety car came out, I was on the mediums, and I thought, I've got a 23-second gap I'll only lose a position, so I thought I'll go on some more fresh softs. And yeah, I overtook a few people and got lucky with a second, but I'm absolutely delighted with a second.
Well, it was definitely a good day for you, O. Steven. Congratulations.
Thanks for commentating.
Now we'll talk to Rustman P3, another podium. You finally gained on your teammate a little bit, so tell me, with just 2 races left after today, how are yours and Smoke's mindsets going into these next 2 races as far as the championship is concerned?
It's a very good question, Tim, to be honest with you. I mean, we've always been good mates throughout the season, civil, and you know, our whole prerogative has been to work together for the constructors' title. Obviously, the closer to the end it gets, obviously we're both right up there battling for the championship. I don't think either of us can ignore that. And there's a fine line between being teammates and also being self-centered enough to fight for the title. It's a difficult one, I'm not going to lie, but like I said to you last time, I have so much respect for Smoke, so it's just one of them, you know, what will be, but I really needed a good result tonight after missing last week, so I'm chuffed to be on the podium. Really am.
Well, it was a good points day for you, Russ, man. Congratulations.
Thanks, Tim.
And Joe, do you have any closing thoughts on what was your commentary debut? Joe, are you still with us?
Oh yeah, sorry, I had my mic muted. I was just saying I'm almost lost for words after this. It was brilliant to watch. Some really good racing on the field. I was honoured to watch this one.
And, you know, we're honored to have you. Anytime that you want to join in the comms box, just let us know. Of course, big thank you to joining today because Malk, unfortunately, is out. But, Malk, if you're still watching, we wish you well. We want you back as soon as possible, but you need to make sure to take care of yourself because that is important, and we're thinking about you, buddy. And until next time, looks like that's all the time that we have. So this has been the Invictus Racing League's PlayStation Performance League Chinese Grand Prix, brought to you in partnership with GridFinder.com, sponsored by Nailcoat Hall. Thank you to all the drivers that race with us. Thank you to everyone who watched. Congratulations to our podium finishers. And until next time, have fun and goodbye.